After studying this module, you shall be able to understand the basic concepts underlying intelligence, know the importance of cross-cultural understanding of intelligence, understand the basic concepts underlying creativity, know the importance of cross-cultural influences on the conception of creativity. Cross-cultural influence on intelligence and creativity. With the reading of previous modules, you are now familiar with the theoretical positions of cross-cultural psychology and contemporary perspectives on culture and cognition. You are also familiar with the impact of cross-cultural influences on the two main facets of cognitions, namely perceptions and learning and memory. In this module, we discuss the importance of understanding cultural impact on creativity. Culture can influence creativity in a range of ways, the most obvious being how creativity is valued in different cultures. However, the most basic way that creativity may differ across cultures is in its very meaning. Therefore, the first step in assessing how culture may affect creativity is to establish how creativity is understood in the culture in question. This is no small task. Both lay people and creativity researchers, even within the same culture, use the word creativity to describe a wide range of things. The make-believe world of a child, home decor, specific eminent individuals, or the works of successful artists and scientists. In current Western psychology, creativity is defined most commonly as the quality attributed to a person or a process that frequently produces a novel, appropriate, non-algorithmic solution to a problem. The general consensus is that creativity should include the features of both usefulness, which is appropriateness, and originality or novelty. Appropriateness has been defined as useful correctness and value, and fitting, the demands of the situation and needs of the creator. It is not sufficient for a product to be new, it must also fill its function. A roll-up television an inch thick is not creative unless it has a sufficient audio and video quality. Creativity. Basic concept. APA defines creativity as the ability to generate ideas or products, that are both novel and appropriate to the circumstances. Creativity is one of the most difficult concepts to define. It is a complex process which is yet to be fully understood. However, it is now proven without doubt that in addition to individual cognitive influences, creativity has a social dimension. Culture impacts on the very conception, processes, and direction of social groups. It is these dimensions that we will explore in the next few sections. A general description of creativity has been presented. Creative thinking abilities. Recent research has revealed a plethora of knowledge, skills, behaviors, and attitudes which contributes towards individual creativity. Fundamental among these are called creative thinking abilities. Creative thinking abilities can be defined as the cognitive processing abilities that enable an individual to produce new ideas. Chief among these are, in general, creative thinkers are those who possess 4 related abilities that are critical to the creativity in any domain. First, ideation fluency. The cognitive structures allow an individual to generate important ideas pertaining to requirements of problem at hand. The efficiency and rapidity of recovery of information and the ideas from cognitive framework is called ideation fluency. For a creative response to occur, this production of logical potentials or alternates and their application to new situation is extremely important. Second, originality. Creativity is symbolized by responses which are unusual, unexpected, and uncommon. This originality may be defined as the assembly of ideas which are rare, that is statistically less common than the average responses. This ensures quality of responses rather than focusing on quantity. Third, elaboration. Detail, orientation, and complexity of ideas are the hallmarks of creative individual. This ensures that the idea becomes a substantiated, usable product rather than remaining just a vague and generalized initiative. This involves operationalization of the concept to make it readily understandable for the other person. Fourth, cognitive flexibility. This involves the ability to reframe problems or look at issues in varying ways. This becomes important for creative production as it enables the individual to overcome mental blockage or functional fixity to avoid well-used patterns of behavior. This ensures multiple perspectives on each problem under consideration. When these four components are used in combination, these form the building blocks of creativity. This enables exploration of cognitive pathways and processing of information, which provides the something extra that ensures creativity. Cultural conception of creativity. Creativity is viewed positively in most of the cultures of the world. However, the comparative importance, social role and function and domain of relevance vary from culture to culture. The very conception of creativity also diverges across cultures. In the West, creativity is conceived to be a process, hence much of research done is concerned with the outcome of this process and their assessment of it. The Westerners conceives of insight to be used for a specific purpose. Their view of creativity is such that they visualize creative people to break free of tradition and moving beyond what exists already. Von Franz maintains the Western view of creativity entails a linear movement towards a point as time for them is a linear concept. Adler calls the Western culture as a problem-solving culture, in which people use rational procedures to confront daily issues. This corresponds well with Luckhorn's conception of Western countries as trying to become dominant over culture. In the Western context, creativity is viewed as a consequence of cognitive abilities wherein individual differences have an important role to play. Therefore, the practices of challenging others and expressing views deviant to others is encouraged. The Eastern cultures, on the other hand, are not concerned with the process or its outcome. Their main focus lies on the role of creativity in providing enlightenment to connection to an inner realm. The Eastern views of time, progress and action is circular in contention. Therefore, the Eastern perspective views creativity as an extension of reinterpreting the holistic reality. For them, the process of creativity involves reinterpreting an already existing truth which is manifested through a creative process. For example, in Hinduism, to create is to imitate the spiritual. The Eastern countries are believed to be more accepting towards situation, that is, less predisposed to altering nature. They are what Luckhorn terms as living in harmony with nature. Eastern culture, on the other hand, do not encourage expression of opinions and thoughts, which are too varied from the norm. However, they have a tendency to view situation holistically, which is a prerequisite for procuring creative responses. From this section, we can thus conclude that creativity is a concept perceived differently in different cultures. This is because of the conditions, beliefs and value systems of the culture. Because of this reason, some cultures have a different interpretation of the creative process and its manifestations. Cross-cultural influences on creativity. As seen in previous sections, the fact that creativity is perceived differently by different cultures is now well established. How these factors are important is what we discuss in the next section. Since creativity is such a huge dimension, with different definitions, we shall focus on only certain aspects. These are religion, education system, personality traits of different cultures, differences in group structures and parenting styles. Religion. Religion through its norms, customs, prohibitions and codes of conduct influence our lifestyle. For example, the Protestant ethics value work, any work as good as moral value. Hence, there is emphasis on material success. Buddhism and Hinduism, on the other hand, de-emphasize materialism and promote acceptance and quietude. Islam emphasizes on the fact that Allah determines all. People have to accept and not intervene to alter things. All this seems to imply that religion fosters tradition and discourages creativity. However, that is not true for all religions. Austria's analysis of creative output suggests that Catholics are underrepresented and Jews overrepresented in creative achievements. Next, education system. One important aspect of social structure that influences national level creativity is education system. In the Eastern cultures, often it is said that there is emphasis on rote learning, memorization, dictatism, obedience and conformity. This tends to be detrimental to creativity. It is also said that ideographic languages of Asian countries are not beneficial for creativity, as they require intense practice and memorization. On the other hand, Western education style is considered to be exploratory, liberal, independent, questioning and critical. European languages, with their abstract, generative and alphabetical nature, encourages creativity. However, this is an extremely simplistic understanding. The Asian cultures adopt different learning style and approaches based on the outcome expected. That is why they tend to do well when the holistic position is to be considered rather than focusing on paths. Thus, there is no clear-cut relation between education system of different cultures and creative expressions. Different schools foster and nurture different forms of creative outputs, and it would be incorrect to assume only one style of education encourages creativity. The research done in this field is Western-centric. There is a need for more research on the Eastern front as well. Similar to cognition, we cannot clearly see the relation that personality shares with culture. Most of the research done in this regard is to find universal personality traits conducive to creativity. For example, Feist has done one of the most intensive studies of personality vis-a-vis creativity. He discussed certain social non-conformity, skepticism, introversion, low affiliation needs and non-social traits. Example, openness, impulsivity, high achievement needs, low conscientiousness, etc. He also distinguished between profiles of creative scientists versus creative artists. However, none of the studies highlight culture. However, the table is far from being complete accurate. For example, Yang finds the Chinese people correspond well to high in emotional instability and neuroticism, implying they should be creatively oriented according to the dimensions given by Feist. But evidence supporting these findings clearly is yet to be conclusive. Differences in group structures. This dimension assumes particular importance when dealing with innovation and its importance in the world of business. Individualism versus collectivism. It is often assumed that individualism is important for creativity because it is closely related to values such as autonomy, freedom, independence and individual initiative. These values led to personal excellence, risk-taking and entrepreneurism. This is used to explain US capacity for breakthrough and radical innovations. Also, individualistic cultures promote divergent thinking where there is greater acceptance for thoughts and actions against status quo. The Japanese collectivist culture, on the other hand, is more productive for incremental innovations which are based on compromise and consensus. Since people are less prone to express ideas which are deviant from the norm, they tend to work collectively to improve the entity as a whole. This culture promotes group identification and harmony. Power distance. Nakata and Sivkumar contingent viewpoints suggesting that different PDs are productive for different levels of innovation. A small power distance is considered to be conducive for innovation as it allows more degrees of freedom for the individual to explore their own ideas. However, a favorable opinion in an in-group, even in highly hierarchical groups, tends to increase experimental and exploratory ideas valuable to the group. Uncertainty avoidance. Another value closely related to creativity is risk-taking abilities. Weak uncertainty avoidance is considered to be beneficial to creativity as new ideas which may be risk-oriented are crucial for innovations. Some researchers have gone so far to suggest that high UA cultures like Japan with their high conformity levels are less innovative. This contradicts the reality that Japanese countries hold the record for most patents. Temporal orientations. Temporal orientation divides culture as having sequential and long-term orientations. The societies with sequential orientation, like the Western societies, tend to have a sense of urgency and promptness, which is considered important for creativity. The societies with long-term orientation, like the Asians, tend to stratify and persevere. This dimension is crucial as creativity requires perseverance in efforts to deal with any obstacle. Next, parenting style. Baumrind described the various parenting styles according to their degree of responsiveness and demandingness. These are 1. Authoritative style. It has high levels of responsiveness and demandingness. The authoritative parent make reasonable demands but are accepting of their children as well. 2. Authoritarian style. It has high level of demandingness but low levels of responsiveness. Such parents are strict and emphasis on discipline over nurturing. Permissive style. It has high degree of responsiveness and low levels of demandingness. Such parents are accepting of their children but exhibit less control over them. Next, indifferent style. This dimension was put forth by Macaulay and Martin. It has low levels of both responsiveness and demandingness. Such parents have little involvement or interest in their children's lives. Research suggests parenting styles high in responsiveness, which is permissive and authoritarian, are more conducive for creativity than those low in this dimension, which is authoritative and indifferent. However, socioeconomic status of the family has an effect on parenting style, which in turn is determined by the culture in which the individual resides. Different cultures tend to have different parenting styles. However, it is not correct to generalize parenting style across different cultures. It is believed that Americans have authoritative style, Chinese and Indians have authoritarian style. Canadian teenagers enjoy more freedom than French and Italian peers, according to a new study published in the Journal of Adolescence. Thus, we see that culture beyond doubt has an effect on creativity and our perception of it. However, much research needs to be carried out in order to ascertain exactly what entails cultural influences on creativity. Summary: creativity is defined as the ability to generate ideas or products that are both novel and appropriate to the circumstances. Creative thinking abilities can be defined as cognitive processing abilities that enable an individual to produce new ideas. These include ideation influences, originality, elaboration, and cognitive flexibility. Creativity is generally viewed positively across cultures, but its conception varies across different cultures. Cross-cultural influences on creativity can be viewed in terms of religion, education systems, personality traits of different cultures, differences in group structures, and parenting styles.